All right, we will now call to order the July 31st, 2025 Committee of the School meeting. The Nebraska Open Meetings Act legislates the methods by which public meetings are conducted. Information pertaining to this act is available on the board clerk table. And joining the roll call is Justin Thompson.
Present.
Joanna Ledry.
Present.
Emily Garrett. Present. Cindy O'Connor. Present. Skip Baltic.
Present.
Angela Blasey. Present. All right, and just to review, here is our mission statement. Northwest Public Schools is a destination school district and community that embraces innovative opportunities and distinguished programs to create highly competitive advantages for all students, instilling the Canteen spirit in an evolving world. The Canteen spirit embodies generosity, selflessness, and unwavering support through service, pride, collaboration, and grit. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the publication of the July 31st, 2025 Committee of the meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the publication of July 31st, 2025. Second.
Roll call. Joanna Lundgren.
Aye.
Emily Garrick. Aye. Cindy O'Connor. Aye. Skip Baltic.
Aye.
Angela Blasey. Aye. Justin Thompson.
Aye.
Motion passes. And next, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda of the July 31st, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Motion to approve the agenda of the July 31st, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Second. Go up. Emily Garrett. Aye. Cindy O'Connor. Aye. Skip Baltic.
Aye.
Angela Blasey. Aye. Joseph Thompson.
Aye.
Joanna Lundgren.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, Rags, I'm going to let you lead it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America. It's to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and in itself, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
What is it, Christine?
Okay. Our first agenda item tonight is a discussion, and I just want to give you a heads up that I have something I'm going to share. We will open it up for discussion, but I would ask that you just allow me to finish providing the statement, and then at that point, I can discuss and ask questions and make them through there. So I have prepared my remarks in writing, which is not something I typically do, but because of the nature of this matter, I didn't feel like that was both professionally and personally appropriate. I wanted to make sure that there was clarity here in the situation. So at our last board meeting, Mr. Skip Baltic asked me a question during open session that was off topic and off agenda. The question was posed in the middle of our transition between reports. It was unrelated to any agenda item, and as such, it was a clear violation of Nebraska Open Meetings Act. I believe this undermined the transparency, legality, and integrity of our meeting process. The question itself was what makes the situation even more troubling. Mr. Altig asked where my child was registered to attend elementary school next year. This was directed at me, in front of the public, and my fellow board members. It was not related to our agenda. It raises questions about FERPA, and it was not voiced in debate. Following that meeting, I offered Mr. Altig the opportunity to address this matter privately and professionally for policy 2013 regarding ethics violations. I reached out to him 3 times via email. We were finally able to meet yesterday alongside our Vice President, Joanna Lundgren. In that meeting, Mr. Altig openly acknowledged that he knew his actions violated the Open Meetings Act and our board code of ethics. He admitted that he made this choice intentionally because he, quote unquote, wanted to see how I would react. He further stated that he would not apologize and expressed that he does not believe that I should serve on this board. He also asserted that the public has a right to know my child's educational information. Federal law, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, exists to prevent this type of scenario. A child's enrollment or educational status is not public information and should never be used as a political weapon against a parent, regardless of who they are. I have been very intentional in keeping my child's school enrollment private, not only for his well-being, but for the reputation of the district. Since that line has already been crossed publicly, I do not want to leave any room for speculation. So, yes, my son is enrolled at a small private Christian school this fall. That decision was thoughtful. It was not a reflection of our teachers or our staff, but it was a reflection of my role here. I know that the questions I ask on this board do not always make me popular, and unfortunately, some members of the board have already shown a willingness to retaliate against me and even our family's business. But I will not allow that behavior to reach a 5-year-old child. I would not allow that treatment of anyone else's child, and I want to be clear that that includes fellow board members, our staff members, and public. And I will not allow it towards my own. My son is not a political talking point. He is a kindergarten student. He did not choose this. I did. And what happened at our last meeting was a deliberate attempt to involve him in adult politics in a way that's unethical and honestly embarrassing. Our own board code of ethics, policy 2012, is also clear, and I pulled out 3 points that apply to that code of ethics. The first, we must place the educational welfare of students as our highest priority. The second, we must avoid using our positions for political and personal gain. The third, we must work constructively and collegially with one another and the public. In addition to raising concerns under the Open Meetings Act and FERPA, this incident failed those standards. While this situation is personal to me, and I hope you all recognize the uncomfortable position that it's been, as president, it is still my duty to ensure that all board members uphold our shared standards of professionalism, collegiality, and care. Under policy 2013, the board is empowered to address serious or repeated violations of our code of ethics. So I will open this item up for board discussion. Before I do so, I ask for your cooperation in keeping this conversation within legal and professional boundaries. So that means that no other students or families should be referenced or speculated about. That means that our discussion must stay within the posted agenda topic, the Board Code of Ethics, Open Meetings Act, and FERPA. We may discuss things like conduct, policy, and process. This is not going to be a personal attack for going down roads of unrelated matters. So I want to reiterate, this is not about personal conflict. This conversation is going to be constructive. It's about conduct, ethics, and the duty that we all share to protect the educational well-being of every student entrusted to us. Does anybody have anything that they would like to discuss or question this like intense?
First of all, I did not agree that I violated the go-back when we talked. I did agree that I was a little gray area to the, but and FERPA does not fit into this at all. Does not fit into this at all.
Okay, let's start with Open Meetings Act. It's not very gray. So I will counter that. We were not on agenda.
No, but did you not talk to our school attorney about, and you said it was a gray area?
No, he did not say that was a gray area.
It's like FERPA did not fall into this call.
He did not, actually. He said that that's a very concerning. It raises some concern.
Well, that's not.
Did you talk to our school attorney?
No, I did not, but I talked to Soap News.
Okay. I would be happy to put him on the phone with you and I never let him skip if that would make you feel uncomfortable.
No, I don't. No. But I do want to tell you, as I told you yesterday, I was not attacking your son. I told you that yesterday. I was asking you a specific question on some what guy.
I would agree you're not attacking my son. You're attacking me and you're using my son as a weapon to do so.
But I just said, and I did say, why are you on this board? I didn't say, if you are not going to support Kirkland Public Schools, why were you on this?
Okay. And I believe you and I discussed that if you had concerns about that, I would have been happy to have a conversation with you, but did not throw my 5-year-old in the college Monday.
And as you said that 3 times to contact me, I was out of town for phones to that. I told you.
Sure, you did. And you also failed to reply to emails or notify when you were back at town at Walter.
I did contact you, you're right. The 3rd email when I was home, I contacted.
Is there anything that I have stated in here, Mr. Altic, that is untrue?
Well, it's slant in a lot of ways. Slant.
Okay.
But
So you disagree that you violated Nebraska open meetings act?
I didn't say that. Said it was gray area, which there are a lot of board meetings where totally goes operating the open meeting act. We don't do that, but we had, I did ask the question. Because I had an insert. I told you that I hadn't. So.
Okay, let's talk about the board code of ethics. I do not remember in that conversation making any argument that you had violated the board code of ethics.
I didn't say I didn't, but you can say you threw this out at the end of the meeting. But, you want to talk about code of ethics, what about micromanaging?
That's fair, and I would welcome a conversation about that when that is the topic at hand. I think that's a fair conversation to have. I understand that you have concerns, and those are your fine.
Those other two things I don't agree. It's a gray area on open meeting and the forbidden.
Okay. I would like to remind you that FERPA does include the development limits of all students, and they do not have to be students that are in our district. I've done extensive research on this from it. And by asking a question of simple in a public setting, where they are put in a position of having to answer you or not answer you, that is violating FERPA. It is not a great. Is there anything else in there, Mr. Altig, that you would like to discuss? Let's share.
Just done.
Okay. Does the rest of the board have any questions, comments, anything you would like to share? Okay.
I know that it made me feel uncomfortable, and I was wondering, I didn't even know your son was old enough to go to kindergarten, so I didn't know even where that information can pass. So
but I agree that raises concerns.
it does. It did make me think about FERPA and look it up a little bit more. And I know that that's not something that we usually, it's always brought up. I've heard FERPA worse times, but it's not something that we really have worried about. So when I had read this, when it was meant to be agenda about training recommendations, like it might be good for almost anybody in our district to take on FERPA trainings, because we don't do really good with FERPA.
And I think that's a good recommendation.
We as a school district, you don't think the school district does a good job.
There's been so many FERPA violations that, I've just constantly heard the term and never really thought about it from a board standpoint, but good. I don't feel that it's our business at all where we send our kids to. That's a personal place. That shouldn't even be brought up. Let me like someone to say that. And that was a choice because we wanted enough with it. So,
If my kids still potty out to the cabinet and that's a good idea. I shared this in the meeting with Skip and literally, but I will share it again for the sake of everyone knowing where he stand on this. There were concerns about why would I be on a board if my child is not going to school district. I would like to remind you all that at the time that I ran for this board, my child was a toddler, first of all. And I ran as a former teacher in the district. He was passionate about education. He was passionate about our community. He was passionate about children, teachers. All of those things are still true. None of that changed because my child all of a sudden turned school age. The unfortunate thing that has changed in that duration is that I came in believing, to be honest with you, that this job would probably be a little easier than it is. I will say that my eyes have very much been open, at least to the things that people are willing to say and do when you don't agree with them politically. And I don't believe that in good faith I could send my 5-year-old in a setting where I don't necessarily trust that wouldn't happen. And I don't want to be the person that says, I told you so, but this example is really case in point as to why that decision was made. And I will stand by that decision. That decision has not been a secret. I would have been happy to answer any questions that anyone concerned may have brought to me on a personal level. That does not excuse that being brought up publicly. There was a reason that I chose not to make a public announcement about that. It's not on Facebook, it's not out there. And that was because I didn't want the speculation to start and for that to reflect poorly on the district. If Dr. Rhodes, I know I shared that with you in our meeting as well. That is never my intent. That is never the message that I want to communicate. Is that I don't feel that our staff is good enough for my child or anything, because I believe we have an amazing teachers. I believe we have amazing buildings in our district. I believe a lot of great things about this district. Do I have goals? Yeah, absolutely. I hope we all do fun things. But that is not the driving force in this decision. The driving force is protecting my child from situations like this. And I hope that someday down the road that changes. But as of right now, I stand beam at that decision. And that does not change my passion. That does not change my abilities, the skill sets, the things that I bring to the board table.
Thank you for sharing that. I think our quality, at the very least, what you're having to do right now is ridiculous. The fact that people are taking things personally up there at level is ridiculous. And we've all got the same goal. Whether your kid goes to this school currently or graduate via government here, or here for the kids that are here, you're not on this board just because you enjoy spending your free time in meetings. So any situation of anything else is frustrating. The fact that we have to waste time on this, something that should have been done privately, is frustrating. This can't happen. Again. I agree.
So, one of the things that I've been thinking through a little bit today, because I have been on this board for nearly 11 years, which is, I have been on air longer than any of playing board members. And I have, as board vice chair, had to sit in several conversations with board members. It is never the resilient to the level that resist behind. And I think that was a choice of the board chair in every situation. And I guess that's definitely the prerogative. I am a little bit concerned about setting precedent that I guess we just really need to be careful what we want to do as far as moving forward, because it can set a precedent that we may not appreciate was emerging down the line. So, and I will tell you that there are some of the discussions that I've had with other board members that are far worse than what is happening here. And so, I just think that we just need to kind of keep that in mind. We're also, I think, airing a lot of dysfunction in this board. And I think we do that often whenever we come together. Not that we have to agree, but some of the things that are said and the way that they're said are inappropriate. And that needs to change. I know Emily knows that I am and tremendous support for training board I felt like last year when I served as the board chair, we were making some really good strides and some of the trainings that I did go to together. And I think that is something that needs to happen more. And so my thoughts are just that we need to figure out how to move forward from the situation that we're in. And I would really like to use us to be able to attend more training where we're all together and be able to work through some of our differences so that we can work together and do the work that we have been elected to do. And that is to do what's best on canvassing. So that's my thoughts.
Appreciate I appreciate that.
I do understand what you're saying. In the last 10 years, when I've been coming to board meetings, just as a spectator and then as a board member, there have been a lot of things that have gone against the board code of ethics and things, and that should change. And you know, Emily, I understand your pain. I've been through it. And being on the board, it's not super fighting. So it's hard to work here for one reason, and that's this district. I'm all for trainings too, but it's not going to change unless we change. And not agreeing on everything is a good thing. It doesn't have to be a fight. I love hearing you explain why you think a certain way about something that I disagree with, because that gives me another insight. We see black and white. We see what I say is right, what you say is wrong. But when you explain it, it's like, okay, yeah, I can see that. So that's what we're supposed to be doing, because our district is made up of so many different people, so many different thoughts. So hearing what you think, hearing what Stephen, hearing what Cindy, Emily, Justin, what everybody thinks is great. I love that. That's what makes our district great. We can't rubber stamp things, talk about it behind closed doors, but we need to bring it out to the public. Sometimes having those discussions is hard, I understand, but it doesn't mean we don't like each other, that we don't get along. It shouldn't mean that. It should mean that someone has a different point of view, and that's great. You should. And explain it. It doesn't have to be black or white. So this is more extreme than anything I've seen on the board, but at the same time, if we don't stop what's been going on for the last 11 years, then that is going to change.
They might have anything that comes.
Well, for that being said, I would like to make a motion to censure.
A second.
Is there any discussion, motion?
There's an word.
I will just share that I echo what Joanne has said about training, and actually in our next agenda item, and I hope to dive into a bit more on that, following the training item on Tuesday. But I also echo the concerns about one precedent we are setting. And so before we vote on this, that is something I would like all board members to consider in either direction. I agree that we don't want to set a precedent that at some point down the road has created a bad situation. I also feel we don't want to set a precedent where it is a pay to bring board members, families, and personal lives of children into public crossfire. And so those are the things that I would urge you to consider. If anyone has any further discussion or questions, I would welcome those. I would encourage you, if you feel you need a moment before you say your vote, that's okay too. Anything more on that?
Exactly what you mean by sensitive.
When I looked it up, it's just pretty much what in the public outlet Cresta.
It doesn't remove your right to vote.
All that I know.
From the board, it does not do that. It's a public statement, and it is in our policy. There and 3 things listed out. It is in our policy. It's simply it's a public reprimand of sorts. It's a public announcement that the board does that kind of a certain table would be. That's probably the best way that I would think to lay that, unless somebody else wants something else, like the mere experience or talking about the builder thing, I would add to that. All right, Jordan, I'll call that the question. The motion on the table, just to review, is in regards to sentiment of Mr. Skim on the Sefio comment. Aye. Skip Altic.
Nay.
Angela Blazing. Aye. Justin Thompson.
Aye.
Joanne Lundgren.
Hey,
And Blake Air. Aye. All right. Motion passes. On to board engagement. Before I kind of go into the trading piece of things, which I hoping will kind of reset the call for the rest of tonight's meeting. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to share at board engagement? I know summers are kind of parks, but if you've been to anything, trading, school visit wise events that you would like to share?
But they do. They'll try to find something. Oh, I picked them. And so, even though Stuart is no longer an employee, he's retired, I wanted to give a public shout out to him for being the recipient of the Nebraska Council of School Administrators Distinguished Service Award. And I think that's just another tribute to the work that he did in the district. And maybe he's listening tonight, I don't know. Messes us. I just wanted to say,
I don't know, his schedule sounds pretty full once he was
I just wanted to give a public congratulations to Stuart. And then also, I had opportunity to be in the high school the last meetings, I guess. A little bit of that has been helping with the band. But I also had an opportunity to visit some with Mr. Spatansky, and he was able to share some of the work that has been going us being prepared for the new cell phone policy that we're implementing this year. And there's been a lot of work and a lot of thought. It's going to be exciting to see how this all plays out. And I also wanted to share that I've also had opportunity to meet some of the teachers just as I've been out about in the community, and they are excited to be coming. I think just overall the excitement in the district about this coming year is pretty palpable with our new strategic plans and the site plans, and I have also started to hear during some of the community numbers just the excitement about various changes to building administration and different things that we get to look forward to here in the next couple of weeks. So I look forward to the school year, and with Christian started.
You doing done. Anyone else have anything? Or you get better? Okay. No. Well, to start then, and to kind of piggyback off of what Joanne had shared, we had some conversations just about really ensuring that we are in the middle of the business and all of the sometimes not that conversations that we have to have on the board, and taking time to celebrate those things, the links in the district, the great things that we see happening. So I just wanted to encourage everyone, if you know of great accomplishments or people that have recent awards or big things like that, may sit around this table a couple times a month, but we don't have eyes and ears everywhere. So we don't always know about those things. So I would encourage people to bring those things to growth so that they can be shared, and just making sure that we're celebrating all of those great things. So I appreciate it. On Tuesday evening, and prior to a very fun giant boom in a storm, I attended NASWE's leadership workshop in Kearney. And the discussion at that workshop was centered kind of twofold around the superintendent evaluation process as well as board self-evaluation, and just really the nature of creating systems and an environment to work well together, which I thought was very timely in multiple ways. And especially as we start kind of thinking through heading down the road of superintendent evaluation and all of those great things that we all love doing so much. So we thought there were a few takeaways that I had taken from just districts sharing what they had done, things that they felt like really improved their process, or goals that they had for the future that I thought would be worthy of mentioning here for you all to think about, and at some point probably have a future conversation about. One of those was a lot of districts really shared that they appreciated providing the superintendent the opportunity to do a self-evaluation process and seeing that information. And I believe last year, Dr. Rhodes did a great job of sending us over with a ton of information, honestly. I really learned a lot in life process. So just sharing that of kind of, there are so many things that we maybe don't see all the day-to-day things that happen, but providing that opportunity to receive that information from the prior to filling out our evaluation. Some other notes and takeaways, there were some districts that are kind of at a similar point of us that talked about just trying to align their evaluation process better into their strategic plan. And that was something that Dr. Rhodes and I have talked about in multiple ways, just in the way we do meetings, but also that evaluation process. We talked about there not being such a disconnect between the evaluation process and then the rest of the school year, and really making that something that, we continually are checking in on. If we take the time to set goals, having some checkpoints and how are these goals doing, what do you need to achieve those goals, how could we collectively work towards those. There was some candid conversation about how much pressure that can be to be a board member who may or may not have employees in your life outside of being a board member. You may or may not have ever had to evaluate anybody in their job. And then here we are coming together, the six of us, and we're evaluating one of the higher people in our community, and probably somebody with some of the most extensive list of job duties in our community. And so just talking about really making sure that we feel like we're prepared in that process, that we know what we're doing. And I appreciated that being shared, because I have felt that before. And sometimes it's just nice to know you're not alone. Some of the other things that were shared were just talking about different evaluation models, some of the different options that were out there. Things as simple as the different scales that you rate somebody on an evaluation. So, it can be beneficial to use a 4-point scale rather than 3-point or 5-point, because then you can't just rate somebody down the middle and kind of take the easy way out of the evaluation. And so I think those are all things that we might consider looking at moving forward. There were several superintendents in the room. They all shared that when it comes to evaluations, they all just really value honest and detailed feedback. They don't want to walk away with a lot of vague things. They want to know, this is what's going well, this is what we need to move on. And making sure that that feedback is really aligned with their job description. And so following that, on that topic, Dr. Rhodes and I did have a moment to kind of talk about, and I think we are in agreement that we probably could revamp our process a little bit better. We've got plenty of time at this point to look at some options. Dr. Rhodes, do you have anything you want to share at this point on the topic while we're
Well, I would just, we've used MASB for a number of years, so in a certain way, I think it redates me. In other districts I've been at, sometimes it's a little bit of the hybrid version that is ISB, and then the board and superintendent work, maybe or specific for that particular district. But ASB does have a model of superintendent evaluation that we have that based on being a client of theirs for policy review. And so I'll just share that with you, and you can take a look at it. And decide from there we can talk about the things that cons from that and the pros and cons of MASB. Certainly, as long as you meet the requirement of the statute, which really is that you're going to evaluate the superintendent along 9 lines. It doesn't have a criteria in state statute in terms of superintendent evaluation other than the timeline. But that does need to be submitted back the candidates to be on file with them. So if we don't have that done by the time we get to October, then we're going to have to utilize the one that we do have on file with that with ND, which is come that we use for lesson.
The one that we use before that.
Well, it's
Well, we had a different one like the first year I came on, because then we went on to NAS before. Because I think it just had like 3 points, didn't it? Was that?
I'm assuming some stuff.
So maybe it was something like the question.
Well, it hasn't. And remember,
Or maybe it's changed there more.
Yeah,
it hasn't been online to bird.
yeah, I use that.
A paper copy. Yeah, and then work to collate all that information into one theirs, and then share that with the superintendent. So it might have been part of the copy before they went offline.
Yes,
That's probably been 6-7 years.
president had to take them and add all by Brazil. And that ended before I became and Mike Farrell, president for a while, told me this wish me to have that, yeah. And so he used to have the mic and then get him typed up. So it might have been ASD.
Yeah, just something to kind of keep at the back of your mind. It was honestly a really helpful training to just think about things I had maybe not thought about before. Probably the really eye-opening part was we started that training and everyone had to share one word about how they, one word to describe superintendent evaluation season. And the range of words that were shared, like some people were like daunting, like this end of the spectrum. And then you had people that were like easy, informational, collaborative. I'm like, okay, we're probably at the middle of somewhere. I don't know if Dr. Rhodes might not agree. He might think it's more daunting and hate it. But I'd like to see us figure out how to improve that process so that we can keep more on the, like, let's make this useful. We're all going to take our time to do it. Let's make it in a way that's helping us move forward in the direction of ours.
Well, just from my standpoint, you've heard me say this before, probably for the last 1 month, years here. I really think it should be tied in the circuit. If that document is as important as I believe it is, I think whatever you come up with goals for the superintendent needs to have the strategic plan as a. I just really, because that's what we're doing as a district administration. So if we look at that document, we're carrying it out. Try to meet mission statement. I've heard several people talked about the goals, and the number one goal for is kids. I will tell you that is our funding, and that is my mission. I've made no loans about it. My mission is kids, families, sometimes kids for the sheep. And so, I mean, that would just be my thought around that is tie that somehow. When you're thinking about the goals, as it keep up.
Perfect. The next piece of that training we talked about was for the board self-evaluation piece and things. We actually didn't talk as much about the evaluation model when it came to board, but more about just kind of developing your board and creating a good environment where individuals can work together. And so there was a superintendent present who shared some exercises that were done with his board. they took some time as a district that they started board at the top, then administrative, then teacher and staff, identifying what their values were, and they were really surprised to find that they all pretty much had the same three values, which that really kind of steers the direction you're going when you realize that's a priority to everyone. So that was something that I thought might be valuable for us to consider doing, to do a board retreat or a training or something in the future. Another thing that they did was to create trust accelerators, which is a fancy word for norms, but he didn't like word norms. So we call them trust accelerators. But basically, just kind of setting the parameters as a board. It does not have to be in your policy, but it's a set of things that we agree to, that we're comfortable with in meetings, what we expect from each other in meetings. So those would just be things that I would challenge you all to kind of think about. It was a great training, and I've got some ideas moving forward how we can implement that, but I didn't want to necessarily catch anybody off guard by that just showing up somewhere and you not knowing where it came from. So anybody else have anything that they thought of board engagement before I move on to? Okay. We will now go to public comment time. Public questions and comments may take place at this time of the agenda. Individuals who want to address the board must complete a guidelines for public comments form with the date and topic addressing, name, address, and the name of any organization you represent, and give it to the board clerk prior to the meeting. I have up here. Okay. All right, I'll read the rest of the directions and done. When called upon by the presiding officer, the individuals shall proceed to the table or which these tables go right up there. Okay. We'll have you go up here, right, Jordan, and you will need to state your name and your address. An individual may not exceed 5 minutes, and total time for all individuals who want to speak shall not exceed 30 minutes unless a majority vote of the board approves extending allocated time. Do we have more than 6 feet? Okay, so we each get 5 minutes. This time for public comment shall not be used to address specific individual student disciplines or employee performance issues. Complaint and grievance processes are in place to deal with issues of this nature. I also do want to reiterate that the board will not live answer questions during that time, just so that we are being cognizant of our open meetings law and making sure that we're abiding to what's on our agenda. However, if you have questions that are in regards to something already on the agenda, I will make note of those questions, if those may be things that we are already planning to address in this. All right. Then we have to see Katie Pinkerton. Then sit here. Here come. We'll have you come up here because so you have faces to talk to her.
Okay. I stated before, you're all here giving of your time. I really appreciate that. I know that it is a thankless job, and so I really do appreciate you guys' work in doing this. My name's Katie Pinkerton. I'm here just to address the topic of Kids Club. I want to say first, I've heard so many parents, grandparents, teachers, parents, kids share stories of the impact that Kids Club has made on their life. Nothing but good things. The program provides a safe and fun place for kids to go after school and during the summer, where they can form friendships and be part of opportunities and activities in our community. Most importantly, it's a safe place and brings security to kids and parents both. My concern came with a Facebook post that was made and shared as keeping the lights on. We all know that was not really the case, and it's not the parents who can afford it that we were kind of scaring it with that post or calling to action. It was the ones who can't. This has been, in my opinion, kind of a political pawn, and I feel the district should be acting as nonpartisan in these posts, especially when it does concern the continuing of this program. I just felt it could have been displayed differently or shared differently. There has also not yet, as of today or as of even up to this meeting, been a mention or an updated post that the funds were released. And I'm not, I guess my question would be why? I would have thought news that the funds were being released would have been something that we would be making a big statement about, that it would be wonderful. Even if we were saying we're still finalizing plans, I think that should have been shared across the board with everyone. Our message as a district should be clear and truthful. We should be teaching our kids and instilling hope, not fear. My next question would be, why is it free for everyone? These services were paid for prior to COVID. We've since come out of that. We've used up all the extra funds that have come through for the most part, and now with the 21st century funding, I feel strongly that should be. We should look at avenues that we can reject that. Number one, because I just don't know how long we sustain the limbo. I don't know. As a program that is, again, like I said, promoting a safe and secure environment, I feel every year revisiting this is just not a secure thing for them. Why are people not allowed to pay? I understand the federal funding comes with ties. There's always strings attached. But I'm a big proponent that nothing is really ever free, especially when it comes to the government being involved in that. So I would like to hear, and I know that you can't respond even tonight, it's okay, but just what is the plan going forward? We're putting ourselves and most importantly, these kids at risk in the program. I spoke just last week with COSAT as they've recently rejected the funding that was released. This allows them to charge, or as they put it, pay to play. They were concerned with the long-term effects of the funding. Why is that not a concern for us? Their school, and maybe it is, so I apologize if that is a concern, but their school board voted to reject the funding. They are DHS licensed, and I am kind of learning through some of my research that I know that with the DHHS licensing, that does change some things that we can do. So I know that has to be considered. Our community of North Platte is so generous. There's so many people and businesses that work hard and are really working hard right now to see North Platte grow, see it go in a positive direction. And I really think that absolutely starts with teaching our children to be fiscally responsible. I would ask your consideration in moving forward to reinstate the payment plan to continue to secure this program for both the kids and the employees who work so hard to make this a success. I believe there could be options, partnerships that could be formed, and I would encourage you to seek those out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks to Councilwoman.
When you register.
That's out of the way. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Trushinsky. I haven't had to speak in front of Mr. Altig in a very long time, so you'll forgive me if I'm not up to par. But I wanted to come tonight just to let you know what a wonderful experience my daughter's had through Kids Club. So my daughter's a fourth grader at Eisenhower, and she begged me to go to Kids Club pretty much as soon as she knew about the program. She attends both after school and summer Kids Club. And I asked her before I came tonight what was her favorite thing about Kids Club. And about 5 minutes later, I said, okay, I think that's probably good. So we went through new friends. We went through exciting clubs. We went through learning. We went through homework club, which, believe it or not, is actually my favorite part of Kids Club, too, because her homework's done when she gets home for the day. But her absolute favorite part is the staff. And she would tell anybody that. I think, I'm so sorry. They do such a good job of caring for our children that I think when she sees them out in the community, her face lights up. I'm so sorry I told them today, but I think the ability to go to a place where there are kids from all different schools and get to interact with your friends and have the educators do, that it's important to have fun and learn and treat people the way they need to be treated is such an invaluable experience. And I talk to people that go to other after-school programs, and they don't necessarily have those experiences of feeling like they are going right from school to another place that they are cared for, loved. And I think the ability to make friends from different schools is something that we have focused on so much at North Platte Public Schools, and I think that is just something that makes Kids Club so neat. So I could go on and on about the learning, the clubs, and things like that, but the people that we have in this organization are second to none, and I think Kids Club is what makes North Platte Public Schools so special. Is it's emblematic of what our schools are to the kids that attend. So I just wanted to let you all know what a special program it's been for my family. And again, sorry about being emotional. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Lauren.
Gary Birchall. Couldn't miss a meeting without presenting to you guys. So, President Garrick and members of the board, I am going to read this because I don't want to mess it up, but really from the heart, the Foundation Board wants you to know that we're willing to work with the district. We know that the district staff and leadership is already working on sustaining this program. The Foundation is here to help. We know it is a critical program, and we know the importance is supporting working families, providing a safe and enriching environment, as you've heard from others tonight. And we know that there's going to be that long-term plan developed. We would be happy to be a part of that conversation. Childcare is an essential part of thriving community and directly aligns with our mission to help students thrive and find their fullest potential. Our board does understand the challenges that come with a growing community. We're open to the possibility of helping bridge the funding gaps when feasible, as we have done in the past. I'd also like to take note that we currently do hold a designated fund for Kids Club, and anyone who's interested in supporting the vital program is welcome to contribute directly to that fund. Keep in mind, temporary relief isn't the need. Kids Club is in it for the long haul, as you will probably hear from Carrie and her staff later. And so we are looking for long-term solutions, and hopefully we can be a part of that. So I want to personally thank you and thank those that have reached out, because I know some of the staff has reached out to me as well of how the foundation can help, and our community has reached out, and they are ready and willing to help to make sure the Kids Club remains and doesn't go away. And I know Dr. Rhodes and I have talked that it's not going anywhere. It's just figuring it out. So thank you for your time. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all. So fortunately for you, our next agenda item is our Kids Club presentation. So we will be able to kind of further this conversation and maybe answer some of those questions. So those of you who spoke, I don't expect you to stay the whole meeting, but I do hope you'll at least stay through this tonight. So, Carrie, are you going to make us cry too?
I know. She would kind of need that. If I could have painted myself in tears this month, I would be a rich girl. Okay, so we're just going to start at the beginning and tell you all the fun things that we do. I think we're fiddle a couple slides. There we go. So we've been in North Platte around 24 years, not all of them affiliated specifically under the umbrella of North Platte Public Schools. We started with a Community Connections grant with Peter Kiewit, with Jana Schaaf and her organization, and we were an outside entity that came into only 4 of our title domains. And then Michael Davis was the director at the time, and he presented to Paul Brocktrop. Mr. Brock-Thompson was his board at that time. No, thank you. We do not want Kids Club under our umbrella. Do your thing, work it all out for a few more years. Maybe we'll take you later. And we showed success. They, brought that back to the board a few years later. The board adopted it and said, however, we don't want to leave out the non-grant sites, so we are going to put under the umbrella of the school, at the time, all 10 elementaries. So we had Kids Club at all 10 at the elementaries, and under the federal government statute at the time, we were able to charge fees on a sliding scale basis. And 5 years ago, when we reapplied, they changed that, and if you were a free or reduced student, you would not be charged a fee. And it almost coincided with when the district became CEP designated in 5 of our elementaries, and then we closed Buffalo. So we're down to now our 7 site locations, and only 2 of those are not CEP. That's Lake and McDonough. So 200 businesses plus have kids in our district. This Delana and Sad and tallied all of those businesses. So you're right, it is impactful to our community to have a workforce who is not distracted about where their kids are between 3 and 5:30 in the afternoon. We have
to run, we need 30 staff. Some of those are dual role, so we have to share adults or we don't have enough to open anywhere. We have about 15 high school staff openings a year. We usually find about 6 college, because if they're 19, they qualify as adults and they can be in situations with kids alone or away from the group, whereas our high school kids cannot. Our summer program was the most we've ever had this year, right in 200. We have 30 plus community partners in this. Delana and I have traveled around. I can't even count, we'll show a slide, but we have talked specifically about the support from one community partners in our program. The grant requires you to have 1. So for us to have 32, it's pretty incredible. So those ebb and flow, people are now reaching out to us saying, I love what you're doing. Can we now come into you? So we love that. We do serve K through 5. We have beyond school customer funding, private donation. Thank you, Terry. We were a part of Helping Hands Mentoring. That is not a program that we, no longer have. We could do something similar if ever it was here to get. But we do also employ the Parent to Teach program, college students. And so these are the businesses, and they're real small. And if it worked in PowerPoint the way it does in Canva, it would have been real pretty and filled in self-ed. But those are all the resources. Yeah, so that's it. That's the businesses that have kids using our program while their parents work. These are our community partners. And we have been questioned before about why Bible Supply. They have a engraving business in there, and they engrave and donate all of our 5K medals. So they're fabulous to us. And we appreciate that there are just so many community partners. It's our canteen district, so right along with our strategic planning, they embrace us every summer. We do an entrepreneurial club with them. We take our kids in, they get behind the scenes access to what's going on there. They get take and makes when they're at flower market. They learn what it's like to serve in the restaurant business in the casino room. So pretty neat stuff. Whitetail lets them screen crunch design their own shirts. They wear those every Monday to club. I'm going to make it quick because I think there's 30 slides. So I'm going to try not to talk so long. Farm Bureau, great program. We did actually add on the bricks with them last year, the whole community event on a Saturday, and that was phenomenal and well attended. This is our marathon kids with West Central District Health. Trudy Merritt comes in and does that. We did our 5K this summer. I think the next slide shows, nope, I'll get to that one. Rocket Paws Therapy, you can switch.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, sorry. Therapy dogs come in and hang out with our kids. You can go to the next. Horse Club, this was actually a lottery grant from the Nebraska Lottery. And if we were not 21st Century Grant recipients, we couldn't have applied for this money. It only funneled through programs who were at least 5 years in to their grant cycle. Wild Bills, they love us, they host us. 100 Women Who Care this year actually listened to me and thought that they appreciated us, what our mission was with their money, and they gave us money and we bought all of our shoes this summer for our 5K with that. So we trained for that in the pool. That's why there are pictures of the pool. Our couch to 5K is in the longer of swimming. We run the race though. And then Tim and his sport shop, that's an old picture. As you can see, he's getting his shoes on with their masks in place. But we used to go to Walmart and buy all of those shoes. And now we don't have to do that. And we go in and they get personally fitted, and so many of them have never experienced that, and then they have brand new shoes for the race. And I'm sure you'll see them all school year until their toes poke out in the ends of them. So Skills USA, we do a lot with our in-house community partners. So our high school students, Makerspace trailer, our building TR Woods class actually built that out for us. And we used a CNC router at the college to cut all the parts. So that was a fun collaboration. We do this with Leah Purdy's musical cast, and we have a day where we hang out with them. This was really fun maybe it's not what kind of a thing. And Jessica Nichols used to work for us, and then she became PR at the university.
So she invited our kids to the university for a behind-the-scenes tour of Memorial Stadium. So we got on a bus and did that. And then we also were invited to the ballet in Omaha. We do that every December. This is our storage unit because every week, God bless Walmart, they call us and they ask us to come pick up things that they can't sell off of clearance. They zero that out. They donate it to all different businesses in town, but they know our business is kids, so we store that in there. And then in the summer, we open a store during the kids' club, or your child comes home with so many things from our store. It might be a lamp, it might be a Christmas stocking, it's July, whatever. But they earn cash through the program, get copy good, random acts of kindness, whatever our staff can give those out. They get to shop in the store every Monday with that money. And our fifth graders kind of run it. They do the inventory, they do pricing. So it's all encompassing of a really cool project. Innovative programming, so that's what these next slides are about. We implemented a high school advisory team, one of the first in Nebraska, and we would meet at the high school on Wednesdays, and our high school staff would attend those. We would plan clubs, we would brainstorm ideas. Noah Henderson, I'm going to try not to cry, he was one of our littles since he started in the public schools at Eisenhower. And he told us when he left in 5th grade, I'm going to come back and work for you. And I think on his 16th birthday, he was knocking on the door at Eisenhower asking Miss Delana how he could get a job. Now he's in college, and he and I were chosen to speak at a Beyond School Bells conference in Lincoln, where he told his story about coming from his whole life, being placed and raised by his grandma, and what a difference that made for him by being included in everything that we did after school, and how life-changing that was for him. These are the clubs that our high school kids come up with. So they're, of course, they're talent-based. So if we have a kid, she loved to make things out of duct tape, so we let her run a club. So binary meeting, that was really fun. It's beyond my scope of understanding, but the kids understood that this beat represented their the letter of their name, and it was fun and crazy, but they're smarter than I am, so I didn't understand that one. You can go to the next one, Brandon. Okay, local, state, and national impact of our program. We presented Kiwanis, Rotary, Lincoln with the Union Pacific, 100 Women Who Care, the school board. State level, 21st Century Get Connected, Beyond School Bells, the Capitol Building, Billy and I have met several times with representatives there. Nationally, the 21st Century Symposium in New Orleans, and National Offer School Association in New York and Florida. So those are just different places that we have been able to share what we're up to here at Nebraska. We've also written grants that are for the Buffalo Out Your Classroom. If you go over there, there's signage all over of things we've helped provide the funding for by applying for it through this grant process. And then we go over there on Tuesdays in the afternoons in the summer and let our littles enjoy all of that stuff. These were ways we stayed relevant during COVID, and I know they don't like to talk about it, but it was just a fun way to see that even though we couldn't be with our kids, they still came to us no matter where we were. So we did, handed out trees and handed out goodie bags and any way we could get to them, fruit, flowers. So that was fun. The next one tells us the community playground that they built here at Centennial Park. And they couldn't come into the schools and get ideas for the kids. So they Zoomed with our kids because we were in school, and they gave them their ideas that way. So we were a really big part of that process. This was our fitness course. We couldn't do, again, our summer program during COVID. So we designed t-shirts and we gave them out and asked people to take pictures of of themselves doing anything active and then sending it to us. We scuba dived in Hershey, Nebraska. It was great. We try to do family engagement events. So we do the historical museum drive-through. We have paid families' way into basketball games. This was just a flyer that was sent out to show that.
Again, our 5K was Central District Health. We had guests this year, the Nebraska Chief Medical Officer, and then the Nebraska State epidemiologist. Look at me, that's that big word right there. And they're still talking about it in Lincoln. I know that I've heard feedback from several people, and I'm going to get choked up because Sydney Stein has said she's going to be writing to Saucony, the shoe company, and asking them to sponsor her shoes next year because they wore some of their branded shoes. So we thought that was kind of cool. So we'll see how that works out. Trunk or treat, we dressed up as the Sanderson sisters. Look at us. You could see how that worked out with their personalities. And it was super fun. Ag on the Bricks. This was another community event. Okay, and then mind you, these are all things that are happening after Kids Club weekends, summer nights. So we do a lot of team building because it's a lot to ask of college, high school, and adults with kids to come out on their not work time and do things together for kids in our community. So I'm really trying to recognize that our staff isn't just individual people. We are a team. And this is why. We do all of the trainings. We have built the house at Cody Park there at the top that you could drive through in the winter. The city build, our kids come together, decide what a town needs to function, and then they build it out on cardboard. It's a mess in the gym, but it's a great time. And at the end, we have a city with like an electricity grid. We had a Target in this year. So they do a phenomenal job of representing what it's like to put together a city. Again, just more fun, crazy things that we're up to. This was a family vacation, actually, that we took this year for our family Christmas, and the kids all wanted to be a part of it. So they all made bracelets at Kids Club. I hung them on our hotel room wall with a little card in them that said, take a bracelet from Nebraska's after-school program, email this email address, let us know where you're from, and we will research fun facts about where you come from. And those are some of the responses and the photos that we had received from people who took to us. Oh gosh, you guys, I did Dancing with the Stars. I don't find the footage of that anywhere. I was on an achievery committee that was national out of all of the after-school programs in the entire United States. They took 10 of us, and I was chosen to be one of them. And we met and vetted resources and after school. We give back Kids Against Hunger. We box meals, blankets to Bridge of Hope. Someone thought I was a community hero, and I got the award. That was pretty exciting and unexpected. We've given Christmas gifts through the railroad. And then I've just spoke all of the different places, and we've been voted #1 youth organization multiple times in the newspaper. And this is gonna get to me. I think a year ago today, actually, we were in our very last meeting ever with Michelle, our Carney, director of Carney's after-school program. And 2 days later, they started school. And she left for work and was hit head-on in a collision at Phil. And now they have a Michelle Earhart Fellowship. And they put it together prior to the notifications of our funding being present. And they selected members, and we were going to travel and do all the things to build on what we had. But now we have restructured, and I think granted one more. We are now working to decide best practices for the 21st century, moving to different types of funding. 21st century does have a piece in it that says we are required to serve all students, whether they're the public school or not. They could come from private, they could come from homeschool, it doesn't matter. If we lose that funding or take away from that, then those are not in bylaws of DHHS. We have to encourage our families to apply for DHHS to pay for them to come to us if we go fee-based. They don't allow us in open bodies of water, so some of our nature events, things that we're doing. So there's pros and cons of all of it. It's been a long time.
since I've been in the process of milling HHS and different things and licensing. But our very next meeting in August is in Omaha, that they are actually bringing in one of the heads of the HHS to talk to us about school age specific laws and regulations. And so hopefully I come away with that and with a law college. And the 3-week notice we had between frozen funding, which is unfrozen, we just don't have it yet. And that's why we're talking a little less about it than maybe you would like, because we still don't know. They're drawing up a whole different set of criteria for how we can spend that money. And so we don't want to speak to the grant prior as a technical will be new or different. So even yesterday at our meeting, the head of our work at the for 21st Century said, I'm going to just address the elephant in the room to tell you I still don't know. So even she does not know what that verbiage will look like and what our new restrictions will be. So we do know we're not rigging right now in next year's federal budget. So now we got, good chunk of this school year to spend specifically deciding pros and cons of all the different avenues that we could take medicine. Well, I think is that the last one?
Yeah.
Y'all could be discussing me. Okay, any questions that I didn't hit there? Why no distract? I do like to talk about what we do, though. I love it. I think any one of us could talk about it all day long. So if you have specific questions I didn't address, yeah.
I don't have questions. I just want to say thank you.
No, welcome.
I did get emotional sometimes, but you, as Trace Autism, come right out with two of the normal dog and some of your stack. So thank you for collecting using the passion that you have. The word is true.
Can we cuss in Morty? Because lots of people call it bat like crazy. I call it bat for passionate. Yeah. So yeah.
We do have a rule that Carrie cannot cry when she comes to my office. And you've done a great job at that. It's unbelievable. And I think did a really nice job of explaining kind of this whole communication piece. I will tell you from our standpoint, our law, when we had heard that 21st Century Title II Part A, Title IV Part A were frozen, particularly with 21st Century, was to do whatever we could to keep kids whole in terms of programming. And so, as Carrie talked, there is a route that you can go that is a receipt-based with the Department of Health and Human Services. And that is not always easy. That is not always an easy department to work with. I'll just put it that way. But Carrie's done a bunch of research and is in contact with the department that we're still waiting to hear back.
Correct.
Carrie's also been meeting with Terry to talk about, how the foundation can help. I've met with Terry to start those conversations as well. But I would just remind the board that should be supplemental money for the program. That does not supplant program funds. That's to help with specifics within the program. But it's not to fund the program. So it's supplemental funds. It's not to supplant either federal or what we do as a district. So Dr. McDonald's kind of doing a deep dive into Kids Club. We basically, over the course of probably 4 or 5 years, in terms of 21st Century, beyond school bells, those grants generally are about $250,000, and give or take a few dollars. And basically, the district matches those funds. So it's about the $500,000 program, half of which is grant funded, and the other half is district funding. A lot of what happens within those grants pays for a lot of our employees through that. Carrie and Delana are out of district funds. They're district employees. So, yeah, we will do whatever we can to keep that district-based supportive. And so, Carrie did mention the 2026 federal Department of Education budget. And there were a lot of those titles in 21st century money, and both Dr. McDonald and I studied that budget. Understand that is the Trump administration's recommended budget. Congress will start debating that in September, and it will take several months before they actually vote on and vote out a budget that includes the Department of Ed's portion of that. But what we're waiting to find out is if you total up the funds that are now zeroed out in the title funds, the 21st century, they moved that to a different category within the Department of Ed's budget. And do you remember what it's called?
It's a block grant, but it's not earmarked specifically for actors.
It's earmarked to go to SNAPE.
Correct.
So what we don't know yet, well, there'll be strings tied to how the states that can distribute that to schools. We just don't know. That's kind of wait to hear that. The Nebraska Department of Education is 100% behind them in school and summer programming. They've been great to work with in terms of 21st century. So we're hopeful if that can be used at the state level for whatever the state determines and the Department of Ed and the state board determines, that we'll still have some funding coming in that would be more grant related for after school and some programming. So we're still kind of working on that. The last piece I would say, I will tell you, we believe we're going to get the same amount based on the participation from last year that we've gotten for 21st century. And we actually get 2 grants that total about 155,000, right around in there. When they initially came out and said that the feds were going to release those funds, they also said that here's the requirements you're going to see on the grant award notification. Well, since then, they backed off of this, and we just received communication potentially that it sounds like the use of those funds is going to be less restrictive than initially what we were being told as of a week ago. So, you got a lot of moving targets with this. When we know for sure is when we will get communicated out. What we know for sure is the program will exist and look like it exactly has, and it starts in September 2nd.
Correct.
Very still aspiring staff.
I'm 4 adults short, so I need 19 plus Kevin and I messy sorting. So, yes,
There's like people.
So is the 21st century brand, or are you not allowed to charge your?
you used to be, but they changed.
They actually out.
Yes, we were eventually to be self-sustaining and stand on our own. We're able to charge fees. We had HHS, like all the things. And then when they changed the way the federal government allocated those funds, and they said anyone receiving a free or reduced lunch, you couldn't charge a fee. And so at that time, we took it to the district, and that knocked out Eisenhower, it knocked out Lincoln, Jefferson, Washington, and Cody. So left Lake and McDonald. And they're not going to sustain a program charging fees in 2 schools. And it was just basically the district said, we're going free, we're going universal free. And so that was where that's
Okay, with news like sector coming out, and they have new stimulations for the money.
That's kind of
What it will
yeah. Like I said, it's been a moving target.
Correct.
Now we got when they released them was, this is what you're going to see the grant award notification. It was new.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a little bit more restrictive. And then we heard today, they're going to pull all that back. So until we actually receive the official grant award notification, which probably is still several weeks away, then we'll know for sure what those restrictions.
And HHS will license us as individual buildings, not as one encompassing ITSPO program. So the building here would be inspected and subject to area of availability for kids, and that could be smaller if their gym is smaller, and this is the area we're restricted to. The size that it's just based on the available space you have that they come out and they show your money.
You're very well spoken. You know, like just so I should probably defer to you, but that's what I know from what I deep dive in the last year.
So it's the DHHS I'm not well, I mean, I know enough from courts I serve, but not to the extent that I go review would be knowledgeable area. And DHHS licensing, we're talking about that. Is that something that's tied to funding, or is that something that would be a requirement funding aside?
So it means, and we went that route, I could charge anyone a fee, right? So, but anyone who qualified by their parents getting online, applying based on their income at a certain rate of pay to reimburse us, we would have to get online, bill their hours. Some families don't make enough to get it all paid for, so there's a family fee incurred. So they would be responsible for the first part of their billing, that we can bill the excess. You'd have to encourage families to get on and apply. You would have, there's a whole bunch of works to
facilitate. So the DHHS is not necessarily we have to go down. You mentioned 20% people that can make it out.
But we can't charge one fee if we're not licensed. We can't charge, we can take donations though. We can take consistent donations. We could, all of those things. But again, like 21st Century is the program that writes in the verbiage that we hold space for, St. Pat's, Maxwell, Hershey, any of those kids that we use. If that funding, if we discard that, those are no longer criteria that we would have to hold ourselves accountable to. So just lots of different, weighing of all of the things.
Is there any way we could put out that we don't know? I mean, you could sure very, yes, we're going to be brandies, we don't really know. Just something so that parents are hearing.
Right.
Because I got an email today and I was asked to share it with the rest of the board. I forwarded it on. I don't know if you got it, but that was one of their concerns was we just have no idea what's going on. And it would be not that it's going to solve the problem, correct? Because if they know, it's not that we're keeping something from you.
Right.
You have no idea.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, from any one of you that's in this room and have approached me and said, I've had someone ask me, I will tell you with hands to the Bible, no one has asked me. I have not had one call. I have not had one person approach me in public. Nobody has reached out. So thank you for fielding any questions, but please encourage people. I'm an open book about it. So
I just think if we pull them out and just so every single person that has reached out to me loves Kids Club. It's not any ever negative. It ain't just we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. And I totally understand.
No,
because it's frustrating.
We're 400 kids that would be displaced, right, if the program went away. There is not a child care facility in this community big enough to absorb that, even if we add us all together.
Right. And actually, I called every child care in North Platte and asked about their school age openings, and there isn't half enough. Or is the transportation provider that wants to take them.
Right.
Because as a child care provider, we charge per spot. You can only have so many for ratio. So I only get 12 spots, and I'm not going to fill it with somebody who's only going to pay me from 3 to 5.
Exactly.
So, Kids Club is amazing. It's where I lunch my children.
Yes.
So.
I would like to share. So I blew up the day that the Facebook post was made. And so I would reiterate that I think a follow-up statement would be good, because I create some public comment even tonight just about the confusion around that and really clarifying that issue has been resolved, because my fear would be if people know if that issue has been resolved, that we not make a statement about this is still what's going on. I don't want that to cause any mistrust, because I don't think that's I don't want that to but I would echo what Angela has shared. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and all of them 100% just prayer on a topic with the intent of figuring out how to solve a problem. Not to complain about a problem, but I say, but what's the path forward? Making sure that I can maintain the program. Everybody was very positive about the program, but questions about, are there things that we could see or that could be sponsored, or that could be foundation, led and supported in this regard, or what things could we look at that to cut the program, but are there things that we can do that maybe moving forward it is self-sustaining, so you don't have to have sleepless things over things like this. So those were kind of the things that were shared with me, is just really taking a hard look. And I think this is probably not the only program Florence us doing over the next 2 years as things change, especially at the federal level, but just what can we do? And I will tell you 100% of the people that reached out to me were very specific that they would happily pay whatever dollar it can cost was fair for them to pay so that their child could come up. So I think there is concern around making sure that moving forward, we do have an avenue for those kiddos that their parents can't afford it. What does that look like? And making sure we protect being able to serve those children. But I also think it's important for you to know there was a huge population that was like, keep my child, let me give you money, whatever we have to do to keep it going. So I think that those things are valuable for us to know. I would encourage us to maybe kind of keep this as not an every meeting item, but as something that we keep at the forefront of conversation. So as you go to these things, we're kind of in the loop to know what that's looking like moving forward. So if it does come to a point where we have to come together and make a decision, what that looks like, keeping it, what kind of content and something. So you don't bring a slideshow for everything. No, definitely not. 30 slides to run. Go with this, right?
Please. The kids tell the story better than I do. So, yeah.
Done. Thank you. We really appreciate you for that here. Thank you. Any other questions, discussion on kids club while we are on this topic? I know several of you have had other people reach out to this stuff. Okay. So will you just keep us as you guys know more, and that's getting like that's just open it up as a topic of conversation. And I just like that.
Federal government.
Those things great. Okay. On to our McDonald Elementary site plan. We're alongside a speaker tonight, so this is Waiters with Hold On Book Guild. Are you flying solo this evening? Lights? No, it's still summer vacation. If you're going to have a hard time talking to them if they come into a board meeting. It's been a lot for out of town, and it's totally okay. It's okay, but that with me in spirit, because what I'm going to share with you is a culmination of collaboration and dedication from our team with the Father Nates of Kirk Smith. So thank you for letting me have the chance to have the chance to speak on behalf of McDonald Elementary. And I am pleased to share with you our site plan. And this is kind of exciting tonight because this is last year's site plan, because we're just gearing up for the new school year. So this is fun to reflect on what we've done. This evening, I thought I would just share our guiding coalition numbers and our McDonald vision statement. And then along with that, our different meetings that we have on our site plan, including our state assessment, attendance, behavior, and our building specific home. Again, these are the members that serve on our guiding coalition. Could not do this work without them. They're instrumental in helping us design our plan, executing our goals, and we meet on a regular basis, and they really are the driving force of McDonald Elementary. So it's going to give us some credit for all of their help. Our vision statement. So we got to create this last year as a result of our strategic plan, and we believe that this vision statement is our roadmap. It guides our decisions and actions. It shapes our school community, fosters learning, and sustains McDonald's positive school mixture. So with that, I will read you our vision statement. At McDonald Elementary, we aspire to promote an environment that cultivates growth, encourages communal collaboration, and empowers students to become lifelong learners. So one of our goals for our site plan, obviously, we are held accountable by the achievements and SCATs that you're all aware of. And so we wanted to create a goal around that endeavor. So, overarching goal, obviously, is to improve our scores from spring to spring. You want to look at that cohort data to see how your kids are doing from spring to spring. Along with that, we also want to make sure we're improving our scores from fall to spring each school year. Our team took it a little bit step further. We wanted to, because we had some data, we've had our fall data, we had our winter data. So at winter time, we decided to create an additional goal to really drive our teachers to want to aspire with that high bar of academic achievement. And so you can see that, for example, in third grade, we wanted to move from a 79% winter score to an 86% third grade. I will read you all the percentages, but the first score is on fall, and then the second score is, the first score is the winter, the second score is the spring. I apologize. And then, Brandon, if you want to put the link there, I have some visuals. I think
No, we're good.
You guys can see that or not. So this first visual, it's our third grade, and obviously you can see the first one is reading in the fall and then to winter. And the whole goal is to increase the on level of proficiencies, the green or the blue, which is at college and career readiness, and we want to shrink the yellow, which is our developing learners. So you can see this is third grade reading, and then the bottom visual will be our math for third grade. Again, you can see, especially like fourth grade math, that was really concerning. We had a lot of developing students, and then by winter, we were able to didn't reduce the amount of students that are developing. And again, fifth grade, one thing we aspire to McDonald's, not only do we want to help our developing learners, we also want to make sure that our students that have high ability and our high achievers are also excelling. And so it's really a talking point that we use. We do our monthly NPPS meetings, and it's really easy to talk about the students that aren't quite where we want them to be, but we also can't forget about those learners that are high achieving. So we really try and diligent about making sure we're addressing their needs as well. I'd love to share spring sports, but so I can't. So stay tuned. They're coming out fall, I think, soon. So stay tuned. All right, our next goal is attendance, and our team decided to focus on a little bit different stance. So a lot of the buildings we're talking about, the average daily attendance, trying to state those high numbers. Our average daily attendance is really pretty good. We average about 96%, which is pretty admirable. We want to target those students that are kind of in that slippery slope of missing 10 or fewer days. We saw a lot of our students, especially year after year, they're kind of in that same area. And if you know the research, it shows you that when students start kindergarten and they miss 13 or more days every school year, that equates to graduating as a senior with basically the academic achievement of a junior. That's a lot of lost education, and we feel like we can start when they're young and help them understand the importance of attendance. So some of our action steps that we do to address that, Mr. Blumenthal, our school counselor, I am just very thankful for him because we can convene these parent meetings and address attendance right away. And so we develop collaborative plans. We like to recognize students at our school assemblies, missing 0 to 1 days. We strive to go 5 or below. We challenge all of our students to miss 5 or fewer days. So our goal was to have 97% missing 100 or fewer days. We didn't quite make that. It was 94. Again, high bar. But some of the successes are we did have 7 plans being created for attendance with families. We did end up having 55% of our students missing 5 or fewer days. And we were able to have 0 students miss 20 or more days. That's pretty, it's a lot to celebrate. People achievement and the attendance and what. Behavior. Again, we have the Swiss platform that allows us to track our behaviors. And one thing that we noticed as a school team, physical aggression and physical contact were two of the behaviors that seemed to kind of supersede all the other behaviors. And so we felt like we needed to address that. So we decided that we are going to try to reduce that by 40%. Make it. It's going to be again this year, but that's okay. Some positive steps to address that. We have backpack positive behavior incentives and no behavior parts. Catch kids doing the right thing. We reward that. We are diligent with our Boys Town and NPPS weekly skill lessons that we present every week to kids. We have a new mentoring program with the First United Methodist Church. We're able to pair adults with kids that are can use that extra positive adult in their lives. That's been a nice addition to our program. Monthly NPPS meetings. Yes, we talk about academics, but we also talk about behaviors because it's the whole child. We have to make sure that we're addressing not only the academics, but the social emotional side of our children as well. Small group interventions by the counselor. And again, meeting with families, creating behavior plans and contracts early on to be preventative. And again, I didn't quite make that. Compared to last year, we had 76 total incidents in 23-24, and this year we had 108. That's the direction we want to be going. So I think that's a goal that is worthy of continuing. So we'll keep that this year. And our final goal, I love this one because this is a result of our external accreditation visit. So when the team came in, they helped us as a school look at what we're doing well, but they also pointed out some things that might be areas to improve at all. And one thing that they noticed, and you couldn't disagree with them, is that we have a lot of things in place for reading and tracking reading progress, not so much for math. So they said if you can find another way to really track your math data, I think it would help your math goals. So we did that. We decided to implement a pre and post test assessment with our Eureka modules in grades 1 through 5. And so before each unit, the teacher would give a pre-test. It would help the teacher see where the gaps are with the learning, which kids might have some of the concepts already mastered, and where they could go with their instruction. It allows us to better differentiate and teach or student needs. So our results is pretty amazing. It really showed us like those modules that might be a little more difficult, or the teacher needs to spend more time for teaching based on how the student scored. It also showed us then twofold. One, good instruction you teach with the end in mind. So by looking up an assessment as a teacher and giving it to your students, you know right away what it is you need to spend more time on and how to address those learning needs. So you can see that we had pretty much 80% proficiency after teaching those units and doing the post-assessment. We had one module in 5th grade where we fell below that 80% proficiency. So guess what? This year, that teacher's on and she's going to be really watching that to see, is that something in my teaching? Is it something strength-wise? But why was that kind of a lower score for that group of kids? So again, we're going to keep this goal this year because it's our first year. We want to keep that bar going high. In the end, what should happen is our NSPAS should be improving. We're going to see math going up. But I think if you saw it from fall to winter, there was an increase in on-level proficiency as well as the college year readiness. So, any questions that I can answer?
I like your data.
Thank you.
But it shows you go good first track. Good. Do you like that?
Well, I like mine take up your side. It'll come in kindergarten, yep. I'm gonna show it. Oh,
Can you remind me, you guys, where I climbed both down this year?
from the A West. Yes.
It's been that for a couple of years, at least in a row, right?
We're very proud. I appreciate the data that you shared with us there. One, I really like color coded my church stuff. The art teacher is not number brain and be really helps understand this just so efficiently that way, yes. But I appreciate you sharing me, even the points that are like, that did not go well. It's not the direction we want to go. Because that is helpful for us to know as a board what issues you're facing and what things are not necessarily going the direction you're trying to get them to go. So I appreciate your being willing to just share that with us. But yeah, I've been seeing those improvements, and that speaks volumes to what you guys were doing first. So that's really encouraging for us to see. So thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
All right. Up next, we have our summer project report with Mr. Ayers.
You move forward. Oh, Esther. Sorry.
So this was, just for some context, this was something that was on some of KMP's faithful devotes is something that is good to review in the summer. Just one for us to be aware of as a board and to acknowledge all of the work and habits that are building service. Just looking through that stuff, like, holy moly. Yeah, so I appreciate you being willing.
Yeah, no problem. I'm James Ayers, with Director of Facilities. I've been in this position a little over 20 days. So I can tell you, we'll go from the one side is a principal to this side. It's all different. So managed to say, but everything else is different. So this is kind of what summer projects looks like. Now, I'll preface it by saying this is maintenance only summer projects. This doesn't include transportation. This doesn't include custodians. I kind of throw a little bit of the custodian stuff in there just so you know, but this is kind of behind the scenes things that people don't see. So in January, what we do, or what they did is they sent summer request forms to all the principals. And in those summer request forms, the principals fill out different things like, hey, might need a whiteboard, or you'd like to do outlet here, or whatever. So it's kind of a wish list that the principals send back. In February, we'll meet with the principals to discuss these projects and kind of go over what they're thinking and what they see, what they need in their building. March 7th, final summer request due. That's where we kind of finalize everything, kind of put everything together. March through April, the one thing I did put in there is Donald wasn't here at this time, but we met with Dr. Rhodes, with Stewart, myself, Lori, and we kind of went through the summer projects. So we kind of vetted real quick some of the ones that we knew that we probably couldn't get to just for price reasons or other things. And we did that. March through April, we go through the different things. For example, we replaced the gym floor in ice hours, so we had to go through and we looked at different gym floors to the companies that could do gym floors. We figured out that we could actually tear it up and lay down all the tile ourselves cheaper than what somebody else could come in. So things like that. We send out requests to vendors to give us quotes in May, and then from May 19th through August 1st, which is tomorrow, we have 53 days to complete the 163 and twice that one on May. So what I'll tell you is we have 10 maintenance guys, 4 were dedicated to the landscaping, mowing, trimming, painting, different things, parking lots. So if you look at the parking lots, you'll start getting it now. Don't park the high school parking lot on Sunday. Might get painted. The other 6, we have one at the break dedicated to building building cabinets, building things that people need. The other 5 were the ones that really go through early. And since I've been on the job, and the principal's been here for 2 weeks, you've had probably between 30 and 40 more work requests come in. And so that's on top. And I'm seeing to create that we've already done. So it's consistently coming through. So kind of through each building. Just kind of went through a little bit of each building. In Buffalo, there's some broken cement, so we went in there, replaced the cement, laid some cement, installed a hands-on board for their outdoor playground, painted the kitchen. If you know, Osgood used to have the crayons outside Osgood. We were asked to serve that. We do have it. We're waiting for the art club to get some kids that are willing to come out, repeat the crayons, and then we will install it outside Bumpore Elementary. They had some new shelving that they wanted to eat, and obviously we go around and we checked all playground equipment, lean gravel there, the motion there, we checked all the stuff. This is not an all-inclusive list. It says 5 next to it, just so for the next slide you go, that was how many requests they had. Like you can see, we actually did more than that. Colonial Elementary, they also had 5. We did some painting the timeout room, painting the mail room, we checked all the playground equipment. We had leaks, we had the condensation, air conditioning and stuff that was had to go in and had to work out, clean out things. Once we can't fix, we contact Mitchell Soros and Weathercraft. He's there pretty quick to help us out. Eisenhower 4, as you can see, I did take a couple pictures of the gym floor. It looks really nice. Actually, today we just put the second coat of wax on, so it is ready to go for the school year. Install new immersion sink, but carpeted 2 of the rooms. We did tree removal and clean up some bushes around the facility. Again, checked all playground equipment, and they got a new electrical panel. Got something to coat now, so that's always good. And they're getting the light. So Jefferson Elementary, this is actually the tough school because summer school kids club is in Jefferson until July 15th. So from July 15th until now, not only do you have to clean it, but we have to do all the maintenance stuff on it. So it's been kind of a rush, but again, room of bulletin boards, dead trees. There's that sign that's out front at Jefferson. That's in the brick. We are going to remove that sign. Not yet. We haven't done it yet. And we're going to put it on the other side of the school where the new entrance is, and then we're going to make that old brick area kind of a planter area, some flowers and stuff. We painted all the hallways on the west side of the school, put carpet in the 2 classrooms, all the old office areas where the versailles, the secretary and the principal's offices. We removed the old boilers out of there. As soon as kids club was out, we had GPAC in there with the boilers. And again, we checked all the playground equipment, fixed stuff that we fixed. Lake School, painted the kitchen, where the old sink was. We checked all the environment equipment. Lake's in pretty good shape. So. Lincoln, we removed chalkboards, but now we do still have chalkboards in some of the classrooms, so they replaced them with whiteboards. We replaced 4 tiles in 6 different rooms. Which had go my name. McDonald, we removed some bookshelves from the library. Out of the west side. Okay. So, in the process, we will remove some bookshelves from the library. We will actually also alter the desk and take the little cot out and turn it out that they put together. Some chalkboards, fix the sidewalk in front of the office area. So again, it's still an ongoing process. We will actually be doing all this until students show up. So Washington, when I call out Washington, they're the only building that does not have a picture on the internet that I can Google search. So Washington, we did a lot of painting, whiteboard installation. We did a lot of shelves, but a drinking fountain did. Obviously, because preschool's not in there anymore, we had to repurpose some rings, put new doors in, a little bit of construction, coat racks, and there were a little bit of small items that we also did there. McKinley, new trees, so if you haven't been by McKinley, check it out. We've taken out some trees, so it looks nice and pretty there. Adams, they had 3 rooms carpeted, painted the walls. We had Greg manufacture some cabinets for the library, bulletin boards, light switches, door locks. Actually, the only gym, believe it or not, that didn't have door locks on the gym doors. So we went in there, we were able to find a company that we can use so we could put actual door locks on there. Some of the Adams gym will actually lock now, instead of having to use a chain, you're still locking it when anybody in there. We removed all the old lecture center seats because we repurposed the lecture center because our orchestra class has grown so much that we had to have a place for orchestra, big place. So we repurposed the lecture center for orchestra, a lot of ceiling tile replacement, and we are in the process of removing the old high school scoreboard, football scoreboard from the high school, and we're going to put it on out in Adams, and it'll actually be on the west side of the football field, because where the scoreboard is now at 4 o'clock, we're going to talk about the you can't see anything. So we're going to remove that, and so we're working with John back down to try to get that almost removed. Madison, we're putting doors into the music room again. We're modifying it, taking out the timeout mill. We had to fix the water heater, replace some whiteboards, lights, doors for the office, meeting hallways, paint kitchen. High school's the big one. High school, prepping straight with it, a power washer. We worked a long time on this one because we didn't know if we were going to get the power washer. We had didn't like the bid. It was pretty high, so we kind of supplemented the bid to 3 different places. So now we're on their schedule, so I don't know what they're going to be able to come in exactly to do all the work that they will be doing there. Whiteboards painted, gave kind of the welding room a new makeover, touched up the other areas, and fixed leaky faucets, clean sink traps, landscape around the building, replaced blinds and plasterings, put locks and cabinets, making new constantly. They're almost done. Your cabinets for your office here are almost done. New office for the Dina students. Custodians, again, they're kind of unsung. They submit, as soon as the kids are gone, the teachers are gone, they deep clean the buildings, they dust everywhere, they scrub the walls, they scrub desks, they clean the rooms and bathrooms, they put all their back together, they vacuum shampoo rooms, they strip and wax the tile floors, the hallways, the common areas, and the gym areas, and the big schools like Madison, Adams, high school, they sandbell that, gym, and lots of so all priceless. And I then bring up just transportation. Transportation is busy making sure we have quarterly checks. New this year, Sound Department of Education is our transportation director. John cannot do his own checks. We actually have to take him to a certified mechanic to do the checks, so it's a little bit more money, but he goes through there with fine-tooth tone. So our transportation for our kids and activities will be ready to go.
Let's fight you.
That's I think that doesn't surprise me, but I think that surprises probably some people like how much actually it's done in the summer, and let alone the school year, but all of what you have to do in a very short. That's what it is.
I appreciate when you guys are able to work around. You can see, I know that the high school seems a center of activity pretty much throughout the year. I know that the times that I was over there in the last month or so, that they were waxing different parts of the floors, and some had to guess which store. There was signage, but you had to found a store you could go in and where you could walk. But it's really fantastic to see the work they do. People are pandemics.
Well, they do a great job. You see a different light. It's really they work hard. They do. And I spend time checking up on buildings and checking around, checking on one end, and they don't do tempting. So
Yeah, and I like this report because that we can show people exactly what's going on. It's like
That one
that they
really appreciate Mr. Hare's jumping in. He started the transition clear back after the ad collection. So he was building walkthroughs for Lori Stewart. I would tackle on occasion, would go up electrical rooms, so there's really a lot of information that he was taking in. And you've been in our buildings. This is the sixth hall we've had a building, and you know that how they look in terms of cleanliness, and certainly then I think we do take great pride in how they're maintained as well. But there's a lot that happens not only summer, but throughout the year. But one of the things that we had talked about initially was that I always have my eyes on is trends. And so we talked a lot about making sure that we have a schedule in place that when you just look at a campus, it looks good. And Mr. Ayers has taken that off. And you saw some tree bushes and some of those things. This summer, our campuses have looked as good as they have. Those guys are doing a heck of a job. And there's a lot of mowing and weeding. We have a lot of green space. But very rarely have I gone by campus and I look and say, that should have been mowing. And that's kind of what we've had. They get so far behind. But Mr. Ayers has a schedule for those guys that it keeps on, and they've done a tremendous job. Yeah, really cleans you down.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Our next several things here are policy related, and there are a few of these on this initial list here that you're going to see pulled out separately because they are policies. So when we're looking at this initial list of policy updates here, we'll pull on any discussion or questions you have on 6044 or 6045 because we see them down below just a little bit. But Dr. Rhodes, you like to share with us?
Yeah, what I'd recommend to the board, you've had these for a couple of weeks. Look them over. 13 of the 14 are required. They came from the legislature, and so look them over. If you have questions or comments, email me. I'll get the answers out to you. But there isn't much you're going to be able to do. He's the only one that is recommended the superintendent evaluation. And so you can kind of look down and over there was some added language from KSB on that one. The other 13 on that document are all required. So in terms of the actual updates, this is what we get from KSB. It's not inclusive because you had already reviewed some earlier as we went through the 2000s and 3000s, so we had already had those as part of the review. So that would be my recommendation. Just if you have questions or comments, email me and I can get that information out to you. And then the plan would be to have these on the August board meeting, just the ones that are being updated and approved our missions being.
Are there any questions currently right now that the board wants to make sure that we address on those? They're pretty straightforward. Yeah. I think the only ones that I would just say as we are reviewing them prior to taking action, just to make sure that you really look at. One of them that I noticed that had some fairly significant changes, I thought, at least from a KSB perspective, was 4051, the social media policy. They tend to keep those very brief and concise, and there's a lot of good language in there, which I thought was an interesting. That's just not generally how those are adjusted. So that one I think is probably one that we, make sure that we highlight as we go to take actions and people understand that wants some changes on there. And then I think 4057 moving forward provides us some really great opportunities to talk about superintendent evaluations and maybe what those language options would be in a policy to some more what we would like that to look like. So those are kind of the two things I had as just call out items to pay attention to. But I don't have anything else to add to that. One must and no one else does. Okay. Policy 6044. This one was the participation in assignment of athletic teams policy. I know that Joanne, Cynthia, and I, one of us shared about that policy a little bit against the training that we had attended. It was a pretty lengthy conversation. Dr. Rose, would you like to share a little bit about?
So this came from LB 89. It was the Staff with Women's Act. It was a sudden recount, but and so by the time it went through the legislature, there were a lot of the initial language was pared back, and so basically this policy specifies what sport is male sport, what sport is female sport, And I did kudos to Mr. BoE and to Mr. Smirtansky. They went through this, and the policy that is attached is our Northland sports. And so it's not activity-based, and it's specifically athletics. And I would just bring to your attention the participation part. And I thought maybe this would be a question. If a female team is not listed on that sport, they can participate in the male sport. And that is the first paragraph below the listing of the now athletic teams, and if they're male team.
But the reverse function.
Versus that would be a time fine.
So I have a question on that. So if there were a female that wanted to play baseball, not softball, would that you still be the cost of letting them on with the baseball team? Because we do have softball, but
The same.
Yeah, I don't believe so. But you would be able to ask Bobby that for me.
And I want to.
Okay, that's what I would recommend do.
sounds good.
Because we gave Bobby some topics that are administrative and board related. And so if you're able to join us Thursday night, he'll have a Q&A session as he kind of goes through his slides. That would be my interpretation, is that even though they're in different seasons, that is the female sport is the softball. And so they probably would not be allowed to play baseball. He's a lawyer, I think, so that'd be a great question.
That was a good question, because the only thing I saw there was, I was like, oh, so a girl can play football.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
To Beth. That is a good question. I would be shocked if that situation comes up, but it would be better to know the answer to that. Okay, anything more on that policy? Okay. And then 6045 is another new policy. Behavioral intervention. Would you like to share on this?
Yeah, so this again came out of a statute that actually was not this last session, it was a session before, but it gave the school year to put this in place as 25-26. So you have to have a behavior intervention training, and teachers, nurses, counselors, and administrators. So I missing it. There's need to have that training. So we actually worked with the ESUC on the recording of that behavior intervention training. And I did fill out that report for last year, even though it was a requirement at that time. So we do some other trainings in terms of behavior intervention. A lot of times our suicide intervention can be utilized as behavior intervention. Their math training company was something people could be used. But in the past, we weren't training everybody on behavior intervention. So we worked with Brian in our vector trainings, which I think you get those emails, and you'll notice that we have added a behavior intervention training as to satisfy this law and the policy.
I think my only question was, so it lists having a behavior awareness point of contact for each building. Is that something we've already?
Actually, I talked to Bobby whether that can be our director of students.
So saying
That's all buildings, and he did say yes. As Kiosha. I think generally that's a function of our building principles.
Right.
Now, so Mrs. Musher works with all of our buildings, obviously, in our building principles, so it'll be a joint enter.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions on that policy? All right. And next report here, policy 3036. We have discussed this one now several times. It is on here still as a discussion item. I will just say that I would like to see us take action on this at the Finance of Warren meeting. So I will be bringing it up for it as an action item. So if there needs any further discussion on this, there are a couple of language changes just to remind everyone there. First language change there you'll see under authorized purchases, and so that was added on for our last discussion. This was a kind of an issue that was brought up from Skip that I thought was a great addition there to clarify. There are times there's a need to exceed that single day maximum amount, and so just providing language there and some clarity on how we do that. The next change you see is the language that discusses just getting an annual update. Does have those bundles and cards.
And you know my objection to that, correct?
Yes, I believe we all know your objection to non-skin. And then the third one is just changing that language to be a little bit more inclusive of any employee making a return.
I guess, and that last one was required.
Yes.
Since we get
That's
They're like,
so. Yes, we've had pretty extensive discussion on this. I do feel like as of the last meeting, that was still productive conversation. We were still making some adjustments there. If there's anything else that anyone would like to discuss at this point, anything you want to reiterate, you certainly are welcome to. If you would like to share. Okay. You'll have one more chance to do so at the next meeting, so it'll be there as an action item. I would like to see us move forward. I personally am comfortable with the language here. We can should continue to same thing. Okay, policy 5054. This is our bullying or student bullying policy. And this is what you're going to share with us.
yeah. So as she's coming up, per statute, and there is a reference to the statute in this policy, annually the board reviews the bullying policy. There is no requirement to reaffirm policy. And that's a little different than what we do with trial involvement. If you know, we come back through some of the policy or in the student fees policy. For whatever reason, the legislature in their wisdom said you didn't have to do it for the policy. But you do have to review the policy. And so with that, I turn on this question.
Yeah, so really nothing changing to the policy. We did not get specific with what our anonymous reporting line is, and just good because then we don't have to really change the policy. But as you guys know, from our safety presentation, we did switch our anonymous reporting policy to Safe to Help. Our previous one went through the Crime Stoppers line, which I actually had no access to. So I was really dependent on law enforcement to find out if there had been a report. This one goes through Boys Town, and I will get a call. If it's an emergency or a threat, I get a call in real time. So if it's 2 a.m, they call me and say, here's the call that came in. We need you to be aware. How are you going to respond? So I really like that platform. We can go in and actually see the platform. We have access to it. So that has been out in our building since December of the previous school year. And in our handbook, the bullying form is linked to the bullying policy. So anybody who's on there can fill out a bullying form. That is something that is very important to us, that parents fill out that form. It's one thing for a parent to come to us and say, my child's being bullied. There's a lot of vagueness in that. But when they put it in writing, it means a lot more. We can actually look at dates, times, locations. We can pull camera footage. So we always encourage a bullying form. And anybody has access to that. Our principals have them printed in the front office. You can access it online. So yeah, I feel like we have a lot in place for bullying to report. And then in the policy, you see the response. So with the policy that we have in front of us, this isn't unprinted one, because I don't see anything attached where I can click on.
No, that's not the handbook.
Oh, sorry. Gotcha.
And I actually had a question about that too. I was wondering if we could put a link in the policy as well.
Might I show the thinking we're blocking?
Like now, you're really like I can ask her. I might bring myself. I might bring some like cookies and coffee or something. But
yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, and that's kind of in alignment with as we've gone through other policies, and so we'll see those things come up. We get things so they're easier to find. So I'm sure Sheila really loves us so many aspects, and I don't think like Google Docs are her favorite thing in the world.
But by night.
good suggestion. Anything else on this policy that you guys would have questions about? Randy, anything else that you think we should discuss would be worth it? Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Okay, well, if there is nothing to work on that policy, at this time I would.
Oh, sure, God.
And Sunday. I make roll call. Skip Bontig. Aye. Angela Blazy. Aye. Dustin Thompson.
Aye.
Joanne Allen Green. Aye. Emily Garrix. Aye. Cindy O'Connor. Aye. And Darren.